Welcome. Good evening. Good evening. I don't say good evening very often on this show. Usually we do this like exactly 13 hours earlier in the day. So this is definitely a late one for me. So thanks for being here. Thanks for joining me. It is Monday, June 9th, 8 p.m. Central, and we're going to just discuss the weekend. I took the red eye back last night. I got into Pensacola, the other side of the country, at 8 a.m. and have like intermittently slept for, I don't know, 30 minutes here, an hour here, a couple times throughout the day. And I'm struggling, but I wanted to get something in. We're leaving for a family vacation at like 6 in the morning. So I'm not going to be able to be on tomorrow. So I wanted to um, get it done. Yeah. Every time I take the red eye, I always get sick. Like it's guaranteed. But I think because I don't have to go into work, like I can kind of chill this week. Hopefully, it'll be preventing it, but most of the time, when I hit the red eye, it's inevitable. But we'll kick it with this Olipop. Oh, there's like probiotics in here. Maybe this will prevent me from getting sick. Dude, these are so good. These are so good. I like this one the best of Olipop, and then I like Poppy for like the cola one. Anyways, they're really yummy. Anyways, this episode and currently is brought to you by PR Apparel. Guys, PR Apparel is a Colorado-based brand. Current don't do more than two. Um, oh, why is there something wrong with more than two? Um, PR Apparel is a smaller apparel company, CrossFit grown. Keaton is a good dude. He makes really quality stuff. I really like his clothes, so I just want to give a show. Does a lot of tie dye stuff. I think the logo looks really good. Has some crop tops. You get 15% off with code WODprep. I would just really enjoy to continue to maintain sponsors, and I do that by you guys supporting me. So swing through the shop, look through. They have sports bras, shorts, hoodies, and long sleeves, and yeah, a lot more stuff in person. So if you ever get to see in person, this is actually a really nice shirt. I have this in a couple colors at this point. And then this is a nice crew neck. Anyways, head over to PR Apparel, use code WODprep for 15% off. Support the show. Thanks. All right, let's talk about NorCal. NorCal was a whirlwind. And so we'll go through event by event. What's up, Sarah? We'll go through event by event of what I think went well and what I think could have been better. And it won't take too long. I know Sevi comes on at 8:30, but I'm not super worried about that. We'll just go through here. So congrats to Bill and Jorge and Alex and Hattie. I got the pleasure of hanging out with Hattie last night, actually. And Hattie and Gucci are pretty good friends. And so I got to hang out with her and got to know her as a person. And I'm now a Hattie fan. So super stoked for her to make it. Let's go. Here we go. All right. Let's go to the events. Ring shuttle. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be really objective with what I saw in the event itself. And if the event did accomplish the goal, right, of the intended test. Okay. So ring shuttle, for the men, we had, I don't know, 5 people finish inside of a minute. I don't think it was intended for anyone to be able to go unbroken. I think the farmer's carry the run was just a little too short. That's why they lengthened it last minutes. Um, and uh, and so it was. Hold on, move my stuff around. I think they missed the mark. Okay. Just in general, the shuttle was pretty. I just don't think it was quite relevant, as at least as relevant as they wanted it to be. Now we saw some of the angled stuff. I don't think that the cone displacement really made a difference in success in the event. Mainly because Spencer and Traven were on the like the right side of the screen on the left. So, I don't think it really played a huge role. Now, on the women's side, because it was the same amount of muscle ups, I think it was a very good test. It made a huge difference. I think, but I still think the shuttle should have been just a little bit longer, right? I don't think anyone should have been able to do this in one. I think that defeats the purpose of the test. But nonetheless, it was a high volume muscle up test. I know they didn't want to just test 30 in a row. So it did its job, but it could have been a little bit better. All right, heavy Isabelle. Heavy Isabelle, still a great test. On the shorty bars, uneven flooring, um, very, very narrow lanes, all made a difference, and all of the times were universally slower versus um, versus all the other semifinals, in affiliate, mayhem, etc. So we could see that, and that's not a bad thing. Also, being outside in the heat, all of these things played a role to having slower overall times. Um, um, and so I mean, 450 is not super fast, but it's also not slow, right? I don't want to take anything away from Hattie. And then obviously nothing away from Colton, but 436, I think Colton was sub 4 in his fastest. So definitely a big difference overall, but the test did its job and it still finished the right. So, all right, first controversial point was Stow and Go. Stow and Go on paper is a perfect test. Okay. Stow and Go on paper is a perfect test. All right. The way that they set it up, starting behind a line, running to the ball, running forward to put it in, back and forth, back and forth. So it's forward, back, forth, back, forth. So three back and forths: lateral agility, athleticism, execution from picking up the ball, power expression from getting the gator started, etc. A very, very good test. A very unpredictable response in the gators not having the same basically friction or gear smoothness. I don't know, however you want to say it. Almost impossible to predict. Okay. What I saw was that as the girls went, the first few were okay. And then immediately it was clear the left was starting to get slower. And then it basically just got slow. And then it sort of just stayed there. And then there was a very clear difference. I think them splitting the numbers were the best thing that they could do within. Yeah, that was also the other thing that I thought was potentially like the break. Well, the brakes were off. They were in neutral, right? But I mean, the brakes still touch. Um, um, right, Sarah. And so this is what I was getting at. So I think it's more gear well, but you could hear the brake, like you could hear something was screeching that wasn't screeching when it started. So Sarah says it's funny because they said they did that since there's always an issue with sleds. Exactly. And so what we're learning and what we've learned over the years, no matter what, is as long as we're trying to move an apparatus on the ground, it will be impossible to standardize, right? Even sled on turf, unless it's inside climate controlled sled on turf, that's as close as we're going to get to having a standardization, implement to implement to implement, right? Lane to lane to lane. All right. So, right. And so maybe just moving implements across the distance is a bad test. This is where we carry things. I think if they would have made it so had the test been the 3D balls, right? So the torque sled was so CrossFit. Everyone complained about the wheeled sled. The torque sled was terrible. So the torque sled is not a competing apparatus. It is a training apparatus. Okay, and so the torque sled was never a good competition, but you knew that from the start because there was a top end speed. No matter how hard you push, it just pushed back harder. But let's get back to it. So I think a good test or like a good substitute for this would have been carrying all 3D balls 100 feet, running back, D ball 100 feet, run back, D ball 100 feet. I think that would have been sick, right? Then we would have seen a real race there. people still feeling that huge lactate flood, the big blow up of the legs, everything grinding through, all of that would have felt it. So would it have benefited the bigger guy again? Yes, but overall, again, on paper, great test, execution, not great. And it is what it is. I think they audibled well, and made a good decision. They went back and forth on the half point, full point. Something to note, right, is if we look at, had they gone through a full point, then Jorge would have won handedly, right? So, a wheelbarrow is good. Yeah, the wheelbarrow when they move the sandbags, 100%. So Vicky, so should that event have been the tiebreak? So I don't think it would have mattered. Yes, it would have because Nate had a second. It just happened to be. It was they just Jorge happened to have a first. Yeah, that was such a great event. 2000 first year Carson 13. Um, Amazing event. So Stow and Go was probably my favorite event. It just happened to not be executed well, and that was unfortunate. All right, pump house, double unders, etc. Yeah, just taking that as the tie break. I mean, they would. How would you know, right? Because then it's like, oh, well, Jorge did really well here, but now it's kind of irrelevant, because like Jorge doing well in that event and Nate doing less than fantastic because he got a ninth, or a 4.5, which would have been a ninth, which would have dropped him out below because then Jorge would have got a one, right? So, it is, yeah. I also thought about doing just like some form of tie break in general between the two. Okay. So let's go to Pump House. Pump House, another great workout. I think it was well written. A lot of squatting, right? A lot of like knee flexion. I think at this point, especially if you're assuming everyone's full, um, uh, yes, they did, Aaron. They competed in the same lane. Especially if you're considering that heavy Isabelle is a knee flexion test. And then we have running, Stow and Go, which is basically like a sled push. So a lot of knee flexion um, in general throughout the entire uh, competition. Very, very knee flexion heavy, not just squat heavy, just knee flexion heavy. I think every workout, um, double twos, rowing, Farmnastics was the only one. I mean, but even then, you're ambulating um, uh, so you're either moving forward or squatting in every workout, which is a very interesting concept. Definitely a bias towards, again, some form of locomotion, which is force and fatigue on the knees, or a squat pattern or a knee flexion pattern, lunge, squat in every workout. Very interesting, a little bias for sure, but nonetheless. Okay. All right. Back to Pump House. The double under ropes broke. Who would have known that the O-ring or the loop ring on a Chronos rope would heat up in the sun and get weak and come apart? A very, very, very unpredictable result, right? Super unfortunate. I think the adjustments to 20 reverse wall balls, 20 more, I don't think it changed the workout too much. Um, I don't think it changed the workout too much, but it probably changed the workout some. And if we're looking at what these two athletes got, right? Jorge got sixth, Nate got second. I mean, they probably would have been really close, but it's hard to say. So, again, another good workout, I think, within and of itself. The 45 double unders were probably a little irrelevant versus 50 lunges. I think the workout got a lot harder, but overall, a good test. Again, unfortunate execution. All right. Farmnastics, 50 overhead squats, 250-foot farmers carries. Right. Change it the most for Prevos. 100%. Because she ended up winning that workout. Oh, she got second. So, I mean, that was like the biggest change for it all. Yeah, great. I think all the workouts, I don't think it was too gimmicky on paper. I think it ended up being gimmicky in nature. All of these movements, besides the gator push, have been done. Ring shuttle is the muscle up biathlon. Heavy Isabelle, obviously. Stow and Go is every fucking heavy sled push that we've ever done, right? If anything, it's very similar to alpaca, where you have to load a sled and push it. Okay. Pump house, very common to chipper. The reverse lunge wall ball is not a gimmicky pattern. It is what it is. Heavy double unders, they do them all the time at the games. So I think some of the execution was sad, right? Handstand pirouettes, we do them all the time. We literally did them in semifinals 2 years ago, right? Run row, fucking every first workout of the CrossFit Games. And hero ball is legless rope climbs and squat cleans, which we do all of the time. So I don't think it was as gimmicky as it seemed. I think it ended up being executed with a lot of unfortunate circumstances, and because of the heat, because of the volume of athletes there, and maybe a little bit of lack of testing in general, right? So I actually don't think it was as gimmicky as it came out to be. 2-score test. We've done this before, right? We see this a lot in training. So I don't think it was as gimmicky as it came off to be. Personally, I think it ended up being gimmicky, but I think the execution was poor. I think they hit a lot of barriers and obstacles that they couldn't overcome effectively, things that they weren't anticipating. Right. The uneven ground. But this is like, so Aaron, the uneven ground on your hands. Again, so the inconsistent lanes, this has nothing to do with the workouts as written. This has to do with the execution. Being an outside grassroots competition, these things are almost impossible to avoid. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the workouts. So Farmnastics, the overhead squats were a perfect touch. The farmers carries were completely irrelevant. This should have been 500 feet. You should have gone out and back twice fully for sure. Should not have been 250 feet. It was way too short. It didn't have any merit whatsoever. The handstand pirouettes was a really good standard. It was a square. It was really fucking hot. Okay, they weren't super strict on the standard. Your whole hand had to come out for it not to count. If you were patient, you did really well in this workout. Except if you were Andrea Solberg and you could fucking blast it, and no one was ever going to catch you. So so again, almost a really good workout. Almost a really good workout. I don't know what this means, guys. Unless you're Leahy, your hands don't matter. Almost. It should have finished with maybe 50 overhead squats again. I would have liked that a little bit better. Or this is like 500 feet. 500 feet. It just was too short. Everything really didn't make a difference. It definitely pre-fatigued into it, so it just wasn't 10 for time, which I think was a good decision. But it just wasn't long enough at all. So amazing to watch Andrea completely obliterate that test. There we go. Points. Yeah, I mean, she won by 18 seconds, and Kristen was right behind her. Carolyn, very good. Sydney. Gucci really struggled on this one. This was like a turning point, I think, in like Gucci's training and mindset, was this workout. And maybe we'll talk about that tonight. Maybe not. Okay. 2K row. A lot of people didn't like that it was 2 scores. I thought it was the perfect 2-score workout. And here's why. The odds of a fantastic runner being a fantastic rower are low because of the weight discrepancy, right? So let's see who won. Kristen Holter got second. Look at the first two athletes. The winner of the overall and the second were in the bottom half of the field. That means it was a good test. Oh, yeah, I remember this. Well, Renata, they let masters do double unders in the grass. Well, it was turf, but I do remember this. I was there. I had a 55 athlete, and it was terrible. That was the dumbest decision they ever made. That was terrible. Anyways, so a lot of people said that if you're bad at both, then you would get penalized. These two girls are tiny. They're not great rowers. They knew that they were going to probably win the run, right? Emily Rolfe. Oh, that's right. She was in the first heat. No, she was in the second heat here. I don't think that time is right. Anyways, so two scores take away the concept that everyone's just like, okay, I'm going to row just at a 2 minute and then we're all going to run hard and then race on the run. Right. And so this is why you have to have 2 score workouts in these like monostructure, longer aerobic tests, because it's going to throw the wrench in. That's going to require people to push where they don't want to push. And it's going to see who really has more fitness overall. Right. And even some gamesmanship, and some pure athleticism, decision making, etc. So I love the 2 scores. I know not everyone was a fan of it, but I think it was the perfect test. Had this just been for time, it would just be these numbers right here, and it wouldn't have been any different. And that's boring. So I liked it. I thought it executed well. The run was a little short, but it didn't matter. It was a good run. It was easy. The course was the course was easy to find. There were no problems, people going the wrong way. The only thing I didn't like, this was Carissa, I think you're talking about, Avera. I could be wrong, but the girl who won first heats. Maybe? I don't even know. I don't know how they split it up into heats. Probably someone like, doesn't look like it. Maybe this girl, Kendall Gilmore, possibly right here. Max was super impressive. He went 2-2, which is insane in a men's field. So he went second, right? And so you look at the total points. That was really cool. The only thing I didn't like about this test, yeah, and so Avera, when you see it, when you're at the bottom of the field, then you have a pure fitness component, and she is fitter at both, right? Which is unlikely to happen, but it does happen, and it will still benefit that person even more, right? But it is unlikely to happen, or it is unlikely that if someone's bad at both, then they deserve to get double penalized. But if someone is good at both, then they deserve to win, right? And they deserve to get the double points. But most of the time, it won't happen just like that. Because again, if you don't score the row, just like not scoring the row in the 4-3-2, the first workout of the games, means that everyone's going to row within 30 seconds of each other, and then they're going to all run for 40 minutes, right? So, okay. Max Krieg, super impressive. What was I going to say? The only thing I didn't like about this test, the way that you had it do it. And so a 3-2-1 go, everyone was on the side and they had to run to their rowers, they had to hand the judge their card, get on the rower and start pulling. Your row score didn't start until your rower started, which was nice, but some people had to get on the rower, fix their foot plate and fix their damper, and other people ended up sitting on a rower that was the appropriate foot damper or foot plate and damper. And so that was a little unfair. That was some discrepancy. Certainly wasn't a 1.8K run. So I didn't like that. That was because Gucci sat down to Emily Rolfe, and Emily Rolfe was 7 strokes in before Gucci even put her hands on the handle, right? Because her judge fumbled. There wasn't really clear. You kind of had to race to it, and it was just kind of annoying. So, anyways, but it was nice that the clock wasn't the 2K score. It was when you started, so you couldn't really tell who won until afterwards when they put the score in. All right, double twos again was good, and then I think the last test. The only thing I think the last test was great. The box jump overs were dumb. They could have taken that off the floor and had maybe a little bit cleaner of a um, presentation on the floor. The box jumps just didn't make a difference. It just made the floor look crazy. Um, I think the box jumps could have came out. Oh, I'm not sharing. Whoops. Here we go. And but the workout overall, 531, very good. Very different workout for guys and girls. Okay. Only one girl finished, and that was Alex. All right. Gucci's best workout was within a couple seconds of fourth place. So it's the first top five, I think, in any semifinal. I think she got a sixth at Wadlands, but this is huge for her. She would have finished the last bar, so she would have had that time. I can't even believe Carolyn got an attempt on this bar. Uh, did we need a longer time cap? I think the girls needed a longer time cap. I don't think the guys did. We had, I don't know how many guys finish. Yeah, I mean, I think you have, yeah, I mean, most of the guys finished. So the guys didn't need a longer time cap. The girls needed a longer time cap, or the girls should have went 4-2-1. Okay. Um, uh, so it wasn't the bar, right? Obviously, it's the legless. Yeah, and so the one thing about this workout, again, on paper, it's well done. All right. I don't think I don't think in competition, success of this competition in a short workout should be dictated on you having to play mental plate math and changing your plates. That's not it is a skill, and I think we've had to practice it in the open. Um, did we need the original girls' weights? Well, the original girls' weights were heavier. They made it lighter. It was 175, or it was 185, 195, 185, 205, 225. So it went lighter. A lot of girls finish. They didn't. They just changed it once. It was only changed once. Um, and then I think what happened was specifically something happened on the floor in the first heat of men. And everyone put right. I'm getting there, Rivera. No, the final bar was heavier. It was lighter on the floor. It was 225 on the floor, but it was supposed to be 235. They changed the girls' weights too, which I don't think they should have. Um, girls needed a little bit longer, right? I wouldn't say 40% finish, but definitely a lot more. Whoops. Because a lot of them were just stuck at, I mean, so cap 27, so 12. Because none of these girls are all doing rope climbs still, so I don't think they're going to finish. Yeah, so it was Gus. So the original was 320-35. It got changed to 325, and then the way they wrote it in the back is they wrote it wrong to 315 based on the colors of the plates, and everyone in the first heat did 315, and that's why they changed it. Except whatever his name is, the guy who won, the guy who blitzed that workout. What's his name? Ilya? No. Yeah, Ilya. Besides him, he was the only one. He was the only one that did it. But a few things for this. 531 is a good test. How do you not know the weight doesn't fit on the bars till the last minute? They've had these plates for forever, and they've had the short bars. That's the only thing, in my opinion, of the whole week that was completely unavoidable was the last event. Okay. Completely unavoidable, right? Should not have been a thing. Athletes in a sprint type event shouldn't be changing their own weight. I think that's dumb. It's not a rest. There's a skill component to it that's not fitness. It just because you're doing this mental math, and then all of these things can happen. I don't think um, anyone should be changing their own weights in the middle of a workout. That's why the CrossFit took it away for online, because it's just such a pain in the ass, right? It's dumb. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. It creates a component to the workout that isn't a great test. It's like, what's it compared to? It's like telling someone they have to change to put on lifters to hit, like you got, oh, you have to change your shoes to do this thing. So whoever can change their shoes the fastest is going to do better at the workout. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. They should not have made them change their weight. No, I know logistically that probably was not an option, and that's okay. They were the last people going. Make the elites, give them 3 bars and put 10 people in a lane, right? Yeah. Um, so um yeah, this is Gus. Gus says make them change weight before they go to the rope climbs. This is more of like a hindsight. Like, you would not know that that was going to be the problem. Um, and so, but yes, I agree. That would have for sure potentially solved it. Um, uh, and then the last minute changes, like not knowing. Yeah, it's like calling an extra timeout to lose the national championship. Oh my God, what a great analogy. Um, the not knowing that it was going to fit on the bar or not fit on the bar is insane. That's totally unacceptable. That's like saying, okay, we're going to do this, but oh, we just didn't get a D ball, right? Or like, I don't, that doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, we wrote muscle ups, but we couldn't get, like, we didn't have rings. So it was the only one, in my opinion, that was unavoidable. No, I don't think so. And they don't think so either, right? This is the problem. All right. So let's go into what I think about the event in general. All right. Um, is is I love, and I think it's what will continue to drive the competitive space in CrossFit, is the grassroots feel. The grassroots feel, I've been to a lot of CrossFit events over the years, a lot. And I know a lot of you have too. But the grassroots feel is so amazing. It just was a better environment. TFX was better ran, no flaws, no scoring issues, no judging issues, nothing. Okay. Easy, consistent, but it was kind of boring. Like, it just wasn't like, people were loud and cheering, but not like NorCal. And I think the grassroots feel is very important, especially if we're trying to kind of find our footing on, are we a super professional sport? We want to be, I mean, obviously be fucking sick if we were like football. There'd be 3,000 people watching this podcast if we were football. Um, but I don't think it'll ever be. No one, there's not enough people that want to watch CrossFit. Okay. But there were so many fucking people. There were so many fucking people at NorCal that weren't competing, guys. So many people came to watch their friends compete and the community compete. At TFX, no one, no one was watching the elites because they wanted to see Olivia Kerstetter break Isabelle's record again, right? Like, I mean, there were people watching, but all the people watching were like their friends, right? Like your normal, um, uh, like your normal like entourage, right? But at NorCal, everyone that wasn't competing was watching the final heat. And there were still other people competing too. So if all the other events were done, like all the other divisions, I think there would have been over 1,000 people crowded around that stage watching. It was awesome. It had such a good vibe. And I really think there's something to, um, um, I think I think there's really something to CrossFit being outside. There's really something to CrossFit being outside and competitions being outside that is uncomparable to being inside a venue across the board. Like you could have the same, you could run a regional event exactly the same. Best regionals ever, I don't know, 16, 17. Okay. And you put it outside, and I think twice as many people come, right? They hang around longer. You know, they meander through vendor village a lot more. And I just I just love it, right? I think Mayhem is an anomaly because it was basically a showcase. You know, agree with the outside or even gritty. Like Mayhem looks sterile, but like Mayhem was an anomaly because it was such a small venue. Like only 40 people were competing. Um, and so, right. And this is what I was getting to was like Del Mar was the regionals venue, right? SoCal was the regionals venue. And the reason why was because it was partially outside and that place was fucking packed. Slammed. Um, and so I think it's like that's why beach brawl crushes. 1,200 athletes go to beach brawl, right? And there's shit for prizes, right? And it's because it's outside. Wadapalooza is outside. I think that's just something that we should really lean on, and even for CrossFit, find you know I don't know, God, just like even a high school football field sits 10,000 people, make it outside. Um, everyone was bitching and moaning about the heat of air, just not on camera. Vera liked how no one was bitching and moaning about the heat. It was hot, and athletes were still complaining. Right? Oh, this bar is too hot for my hands. I'm gonna rip. Blah blah blah. Not a lot, but they definitely did. But it didn't matter. But it was cooking. Right? I don't. Is that true? WFP Tour Event 2 will be outside. I don't think it's outside. I think maybe an event is outside, or maybe I'm wrong. So, um, it is, yeah, outside in Mesa, in August is crazy. Now, again, I think there's also a feel, yes, outside is what I'm saying, but putting the people on the barricades, not having people like 50 feet away in stands outside. That's like the feel of being there. I think that just um, makes the difference. I think it really allows this like different feel to it. And I really love that about NorCal. Um, that's what I like. So overall, I think the events were good. They had long, over 20 minutes. They had short, under a minute. They had power. They had a lot of gymnastic skill. Probably not enough hinge biased programming, if I had to say. I know they pulled off the floor twice. There was no handstand push-ups, and I know that was most likely a equipment limitation, but they handstand pirouettes, muscle up complex, ring muscle ups. So I think they did a good job of by not having handstand push-ups in it, still making sure that gymnastics were tested very effectively. Heavy bars across the board, a power event. I think some of the other pieces were maybe a little bit. I don't think we had a lot of that, like, I don't know. I guess Pump House was probably that mid time range, and then everything else was really short. I would have liked to see maybe um Hero Ball. I guess not. I mean, this like 13-minute time frame, I guess is okay, but I felt like we kind of missed a little bit of a time domain. But we hit it there, so I guess I can walk that back. I'm kind of, mm, um, but overall, it was, um, I think the right people got through. I think the race was awesome. If if you can ever go into the last event and not know who's going to make it, I think that means that we have a good race, that we have a good competition on our hands, right? That's what it's all about. It's all about creating a race and creating um, people excited about watching. Um, but yeah. All right. So my experience as a coach, pretty good. No complaints. I got to go everywhere, no problems. They didn't really care. Again, really grassroots. probably didn't even need to be defined as a coach. Um, and Gucci ended up having a very, very good weekend, finishing 16th. Um, just an execution here and there. There was a really good chance for her to finish this in round two. So to be in the 5 minute mark for the muscle up, for the muscle up piece. So definitely a chance for her to be somewhere right here. Just made a little bit of a mistake. Really sad. Um, no, CrossFit people didn't walk across the shuttle run. People were walking across the run. Like that was like coming through the parking lot. So, yes, but not the shuttle run. No, not that I saw. I could be wrong though. I haven't watched any of the live stream or the recast stream. Um, Heavy Isabelle, this was just a really tough one for her. We've been having some back stuff, so we haven't pulled off the floor at all. So her finishing under the time cap was really, really good. I was very unsure if we were going to get there. Had a couple misses, a couple rests, but she stayed composed. So I think this is pretty much as good as she could have done in Isabelle. But she did 7:30 at Wadlands, right? So huge difference there. Did great on this one. Warmed up well. This is a decent event for her overall. She hit it hard and executed pretty well. Pump House without the double unders, live to tape stream. That's right. Thank you. The wall balls helped her a lot. We had a plan, and this is where. Oh, this isn't right. So she did Farmnastics second or first that day. And 25th, it was her worst event. She failed over 10 attempts on the workout. All right. And so got super frustrated, and something clicked after that workout. We talked about executing a plan of breaking the overhead squats, and did not program is not running last chance qualifier. Oh, I have no idea. It's probably whoever's putting it on, isn't it? Valight's putting it on. I wonder if it's them. It was probably Mayhem. If it's not him, it's probably Mayhem. That's interesting. All right, so let's finish this because I want to praise Gucci for kind of taking it to the next level. So Farmnastics was our worst event, especially from an execution standpoint. Lots of mistakes, lots of frustration in racing when we don't need to race, right? We race in things like the double twos, but we don't race in high skill workouts where execution is everything. And this workout really ate her up, right? A lot of fails. She's good at pirouettes, just need to take a little bit more time. Could have easily taken from 25th to anywhere from 18th to 15th, right? Like she was easily here had she not missed and kicked up too soon. But then comes Pump House, and the pullover is an interesting movement because it kind of is really easy at first, this bar muscle up pullover complex, and then it goes away pretty quick. And we talked about a plan of going 5 sets of 3. She's her first set of 4. I thought we were going to go into the shitter again. And she stuck with 3s, made good decisions, fought hard, and then hit a 2 to finish. And was like, I don't know, 8th or 10th to the wall ball. She's exceptional at single leg patterns, pushed through the wall ball, gained some ground on people, and then she averaged like a 148 to a 150 on the final bike, which is what some of the guys were averaging, and she sent it. And it was really one of the first workout that we've had for her where her execution solely is what got her the score, even more than her fitness ability. And it was a really cool thing to see. And it was sort of like leveling up in a video game. Like you just like took the next step, and then it just happened to happen again and again. And so if we're looking at her scores, so she rode a 2K. She's not a super fantastic rower, which we'll start working on. I'm pretty sure 746 is probably a PR for her. We don't do a ton of extra rowing. Um, and she was just in this grouping where 3 seconds, so she was 21st, like 3 seconds would have been 8 spots higher, right? Or 6 spots higher, right? And so there's a lot of people in this grouping. And so you don't know, right? But we were right here. But she passed because she took so long to get on her rower. Um, that she ended up passing like 12. She was one of the last ones on the rower, and she finished 13th overall in the event. And she finished like 6th or 7th in her heat. So she passed like 15 people in the middle of a workout on a run workout. And it just was a totally different athlete. And it was amazing to watch. And then she finished the week. She's very good at legless rope climbs, definitely one of the better athletes in the field overall. And manages that weight within the barbell fine and finishes 5th, right? And so while this says 21st, it's the execution of it and the decision making behind it is a little bit better than what that score reads. And these two right here, being able to race in a run when you're not a super excellent runner. She's a decent runner, but not a great runner. And there were some great runners in the field. And to be within a minute of some of these absolute savages was a pretty cool thing to watch and be a part of, right? So we're at 2028, right? So we're right here with Emily Rithwell, Hattie Canyo, et cetera. And so that was really awesome to see a lot of growth from Gucci and a lot of promise for the future. And then she absolutely burned it down on the last one. And it was really awesome to be a part of. So I was really proud as a coach this weekend to finish up. So coaching was great. I lost my voice. I took the red eye back, so I haven't had any sleep yet. And yeah, I think overall, I think NorCal did its job. I think it had a lot of issues. I'm not going to talk about the stream. The guys, it looked like they worked really hard to get up what they got up. It's unfortunate that it was going to cost them $100,000 to get signal out to live stream it. And it's unfortunate that quite a few of the things that happened at NorCal were, in my opinion, probably unavoidable. But some of the things were definitely avoidable, right? Barbell loading, the shuttle run lines, which I don't think played a factor. But the rope, the gator, I don't think those things were predictable at all. I think they were good events on paper. And then just, luck of the draw just didn't happen in their favor. So I hope all of you enjoyed watching it. Thanks for sticking around during the weekend while I try to do a couple live updates. Yeah. Does anyone have anything else? I haven't watched Weekend Review yet, Avera. This is crazy if there's no video review process. I don't even know what to say. What? Well, there was a video review process for semifinals, just not team. Are they talking about it or no? So Spencer won the workout. He was on the right side. So it's hard to say that, Gus. But I understand what you're saying. Yeah. So if someone gets in to the games not live and their videos don't get reviewed, that's a huge miss. I assume that's not the case because there's not going to be that many people that do it. There's only like 50. I think there's only like 50 or 60 people totally invited to it. Quite a few of them are not going to do it. I think you're only going to get like 20 or 30 people do it. And so they got to review the videos. So maybe there's no public review process. Maybe it's just all internal is what he meant, Avera. But I don't know who's running it. So if it's not Dave, I can see Dave not writing it. Like maybe Boz wrote it. But I don't know about anything else of that. So, all right. Again, guys, thank you for being here late night. For those of you that stuck around while there's other shows on, thank you. Guys, if you want to support the show, please head over to PR Apparel, pick out something you like, use code WODprep, and it keeps me on maybe even longer, right? Maybe we can do this more often. So thanks again. Pick out some cool shit. If you're doing the Community Cup, make sure to do them. They're due this week. 3 workouts. No, I'm not going to be on tomorrow morning. I'm traveling. So that's why I'm on tonight. So sorry, guys. You guys will see me Friday. Maybe. Yeah, probably Friday. Let's see. That's it. All right. Good luck in the Community Cup if that's what you're doing. If not, enjoy your week of training. Thanks for being here. And we'll see you guys on Friday. Peace.